it's already very difficult to start a legal aid career at the bar. There's massive competition in very few places. I'd like to know what the panel think are the prospects for those young students and postgraduates who have £30,000 worth of debt in light of these proposals. Further, I'd also like to know where they think the stream of young barristers is going to come from in the future, in light of the fact that fixed fees are very likely to mean that counsel are scarcely, if ever, used in the lower courts, particularly the magistrates' courts.
Richard.
Well, I have to say, I think the whole future of the bar is up in the air, particularly as a result of the proposal for alternative business structures. I think once legal disciplinary practices are established, it will be far more common for barristers to operate in partnership or in employment with individual firms rather than as an independent referral profession. I think within the next 5 to 10 years, we're likely to see the effective fusion of the professions, and there will be no independent bar as we understand it today. So I think that is where the future lies for people going into the bar at the moment.
That's rather gloomy.
Sorry, John, do you mind, may I ask where the MPs stand on that matter? How they feel about the independent bar?
Are both our MPs barristers?
Yes.
Can
I go first? I moved here in the year I did my pupillage, just down the road. I did so because I wanted to be a human rights lawyer and a lawyer doing the sort of work that people here need. All the evidence I get from other people, from you and your colleagues, and all the logic of London life is that if you're coming out of university and you are socially motivated, you are going to be sorely tempted to move away from a less remunerated, really difficult and stressful existence, and able to go, as you can do, to start at salaries of 30 and 40 and 50,000 in city firms, where you have, yes, a lot of stress, but actually not the same sort of stress of individual people about to be evicted on the street or about to be deported tomorrow, or other things. And I have a serious concern, and it's not just a personal concern, given that that's where I've been. I have a concern because that's what I hear, and I think there's a real issue. It's a bit like it was a few years ago when we weren't getting people going to the medical profession. The government remedied that, and then there have been lots of people who've come in, and now, of course, there aren't enough jobs at the other end. So the management wasn't very good. But there's a real issue, because if over the next 5 or 10 years there are not people who are willing to come to work for 20 or 23 or 25 or 28,000 pounds a year, which is what lots of people in this room are probably working for, or 35 or less, or no, but I mean, having been settled into a firm, or accept that their salary will be 35 indefinitely and no more than that at today's prices, then bluntly, the really good quality service will not be given to the most needy in society. That's the reality.
We must have some grist in this oyster. I mean, you know, we've all been around and seen, you know, my good friend Mike Mansfield pushing his wheelbarrow full of extraordinary surprises from all sorts of cases, vast quantities on legal aid even. I mean, there are some extraordinary wealthy people on legal aid. True or false? True. Or am I living in the dark ages?
Well, John, you're making a very important point, because what the Bar Council Working Group showed recently is that there is a large amount of money being spent on a very small number of cases in the higher courts. And the effect of that, and the Bar itself recognised that something needs to be done about that, the effect of that is that there isn't the amount of money there should be for the ordinary work of the courts. And I think that's something that we desperately need to tackle. But, you know, I started off, as Simon did, as a barrister. I did 20 years doing a lot of cases which were on legal aid. I was on the free representation unit. I mean, I really understood what Mike Mansfield was saying about communities, the high street network of solicitors, relying on the bar to help them with the cases. And I mean, that's something that's been very important in our system, that you can go to the high street solicitor or the neighbourhood law centre, and your case can go right up, as Edward was saying, to Strasbourg, the highest courts. We mustn't lose that network, and that's what we're fighting for. So, you know, I very strongly agree that the future for the bar is worrying, and I share your concerns. All I would say to you is that there were times in my 20 years doing these cases when I stood between somebody's liberty and stood representing them as really the only thing, the lawyer, between them and loss of liberty. And I think to be able to do that's a huge responsibility, a huge challenge, incredibly rewarding though, and stick with it.
Carolyn.
Thank you. Can I make 3 points in response to what you've just said, and then I want to come back to a previous point. The first thing is one of the proposals and the outcome of the Carter reforms is to increase the fees paid to more junior barristers. Over time, there will be a move towards a single advocacy fee, and I guess that will bring with it changes in the way people do that. And the third point, which we've discussed outside today's meeting, is about how the Legal Services Commission spends its £3 million a year training grants. And we are looking at that again. And, there is an option to extend that to barristers who are in training, as well as solicitors. So I'd welcome that discussion.
I just want to go to another young barrister, because I want to find out whether she has to take a second or third job to keep going. Christy.
The answer to that is I'm seriously considering it. It's a very risky time to be starting out at the bar. There is no salary at the bar, so even the inadequate salary that is paid to many solicitors isn't available to us. And the sad thing is that the only people who really can afford now to go to the bar are the very privileged, those who can rely on the bank of dad. And sadly that means there's going to be a huge loss of diversity at the bar, something that's been fought for many years. In relation to the magistrates' court work and to the single advocacy fee that's been referred to, under the fixed fee system, there will only be a set amount of money available for criminal defence representation, and many solicitors' firms will now take on that work in-house. Obviously they're going to want to do it at the cheapest rate possible in order to be competitive. And I think that will lead to young barristers losing the very important experience that they used to gain in the magistrates' court. It's simply not going to be competitive for firms to instruct young barristers in those cases.
I've even heard the chairman of Bar, Jeffrey Voss, talking about the redistribution of the wealth is the wrong word, but the envelope towards the junior end of the bar in his evidence to the Constitutional Affairs Committee. And what he was talking about in terms of the junior bar was people running 1 to 10 day Crown Court trials. That is not how people learn their trade at the bar. People learn their trade at the bar in the magistrates' courts. They learn it in trials in the magistrates' courts, and that work is going to dry up.
Thank you very much.